students, welcome back. Now we are going to see the second and third acromioclavicular motions, that is anterior and posterior tilting and upward and downward rotation. Now the second motion of acromioclavicular joint is the anterior and posterior tilting. This is also called as tipping of the scapula. This is also called as tipping of the scapula. Like winging of the scapula, tipping of the scapula is also considered as some pathological disorder, but in the biomechanics, the tipping of scapula is also considered as the normal movement to understand the anterior and posterior tilting of the scapula, which occurs at the acromioclavicular joint. Now, so this tipping of scapula or anterior or posterior tilting in relation to the clavicle, it takes place in an oblique coronal plane. It takes place in oblique coronal plane. So the oblique coronal plane is like this. It takes place in oblique coronal plane. What happens in this anterior tilting as well as the posterior tilting? In the case of anterior tilting, what is happening? The acromion, so here this one is acromion, tilts forward. So this acromion process will move like this. Then what happens? The acromion process move like this, whereas the tip of the that is the inferior angle of the scapula will move backwards. So this is called as anterior tilting. So anterior tilting results in the acromion tilting forward and the inferior angle tilting backward. So this is taking place in anterior tilting. Coming to the posterior tilting, this one occurs in the opposite direction of anterior tilting. In the posterior tilting, what happens? This acromion process tilting posteriorly, whereas the tip of that is the inferior angle of the scapula tilts anteriorly. So that means forward. This is called as posterior tilting. Okay. So this one is called as scapular tilting also, that is anterior tipping of the scapula and posterior tipping of the scapula. Now this scapular tilting, like internal and external rotation of the scapula, occurs for what purpose? So this internal and external rotation of the scapula occurs in order to maintain contact with the thorax, in order to maintain the contact of scapula with the rib cage, that is the shape of the rib cage, that is it has to maintain the contact with the contour of the rib cage and to orient the glenoid fossa, and it has to orient the glenoid fossa for arm movements. Okay, so as the scapula moves upwards or downwards, so this is called, here this is the normal position, light pink. So during upward and downward motions of the scapula, during elevation, what will happen? The scapula will move upwards. During depression, the scapula move downwards. Okay, so in all these two movements, what is happening here? The scapula can adjust its position. The scapula adjusts its position to maintain contact with the vertical curvature, of the ribs. Whereas in the case of internal and external rotation, the scapula is maintaining the position with the horizontal curvature of the ribs, whereas in the elevation and depression, that is the anterior and posterior tilting, the scapula adjusts its position to maintain contact with the rib cage, uh, with the vertical curvature of the rib cage. Okay, elevation on the thorax. So that means what will happen? So elevation on the thorax, what is happening? The acromion is moving forward. That means it is causing anterior tilting, and the tip of the scapula is moving backward. So during elevation, anterior tilting takes place, and during depression, what is happening? The inferior angle is moving inwards, whereas the acromion is tilting posteriorly. So this is called as posterior tilting. During elevation, anterior tilting takes place, and during depression, posterior tilting takes place. Okay, normally such kind of movements, this anterior tilting we can see when we shrug our shoulders, that which causes elevation. That means anterior tilting of the scapula occurs. So normally the scapula does not always follow the curvature of the thorax, but during normal flexion and abduction of the arm, the scapula posteriorly tilts. So the scapula posteriorly tilts to, what is the function here? Uh, to orient this glenoid fossa with the humeral head. During normal flexion and abduction, the scapula tilts posteriorly on the thorax, which helps to maintain, or which helps in exposing of the glenoid cavity to the humeral head for increasing the range of motion of the flexion and abduction is taking place. Okay, so if you see this range of motion, so the available passive motion into anterior and posterior tilting at the acromioclavicular joint is 60 degrees in cadaveric acromioclavicular joint specimens which are separated from the thorax. Normally, the magnitude of anterior and posterior tilting during arm elevation has been approximately quantified as 20 degrees, although it may extend up to 40 degrees or more may be possible in the full range from maximum flexion to extension. And so these are the movements, tiltings taking place at the scapular level. So what are the movements taking place in the acromioclavicular joint during this anterior and posterior tilting? So there is an superior and inferior translations taking place in the inside the acromioclavicular joint. So that means the scapula is moving upward, so superior translatory motion is taking place. During depression, so inferior translations are taking place in the case of anterior and posterior tilting. Okay, this is about the second acromioclavicular joint motion. Now coming to the last motion, that is the upward or downward rotation. So this is also called as simply rotation of the scapula. So this rotation of scapula is always related with the rotation of the clavicle. So now we will see this movement. The third acromioclavicular joint motion is upward and downward rotation of the scapula in relation to clavicle, so which is taking place about an oblique AP axis, which is taking place in the oblique AP axis. So the first movement is taking place exactly on the vertical axis, whereas in the anterior and posterior tilting, which is taking place oblique coronal plane, coronal axis, and this upward and downward rotation is taking place oblique AP axis. Now, so this AP axis approximately perpendicular to the plane of the scapula. So almost all perpendicular with the plane of the scapula, passing midway between the joint surfaces of the acromioclavicular joint. So this upward rotation, upward rotation causes tilting of the glenoid fossa upward. So here you can see this is the normal. So tilting of the glenoid fossa upwards during upward rotation. So in the upward rotation, tilting of the glenoid fossa upwards. Whereas in the downward rotation, what will happen? The opposite movement. So this glenoid fossa will face downwards. So this is the thing happened in the upward and downward motions. Okay. The amount of available passive range of motion which occurs in this upward and downward rotation is approximately 30 degrees, which is approximately 30 degrees. Okay, and specifically this passive motion, the amount of available passive motion into upward and downward rotation, specifically at the acromioclavicular joint, is limited by the attachment of coracoclavicular ligament. So, in order for upward rotation to occur at the acromioclavicular joint, the coracoid process, so to get this range of motion, what will happen? This coracoid process and superior border of the scapula will have to move away from the clavicle. So, but this is not happened because of the attachments of the coracoclavicular ligaments. So, it has to occur means posterior rotation of the clavicle releases the tension on the coracoclavicular ligaments and opens up the acromioclavicular joint, allowing the upward rotation to occur. So, the range of motion of upward as well as the downward rotation is described as 30 degrees. So, and some people described as 30 degrees of upward rotation and 17 degrees of downward rotation is taking place actively at the acromioclavicular joint. Some others described as 15 degrees to 16 degrees the upward rotation occurring during active humeral abduction. So this is the thing happened in the case of upward and downward rotation. So what is happening? What kind of movements are taking place inside the acromioclavicular joint during upward and downward rotation? There is medial and lateral translations taking place in the upward and downward rotations of the acromioclavicular joint motions. So this is all about the acromioclavicular motions. In the next session, we are going to see scapulothoracic joint. Thank you.